Torrential rain lashed the pitch-black night in Willow Creek, red and blue lights tearing through the darkness. Nate Carver, a steadfast farmer, was stopped mid-storm by Evelyn Marsh, the self-proclaimed queen of Pineview Heights. "Get rid of your filthy farm," she roared, eyes dripping with contempt, no reason given except that it ruined her perfect view. "What right do you have?" Nate challenged, voice like steel. Evelyn's cold laugh cut through the rain. "Here, I am the law, a land-grabbing plot, an unjust system, and a man who never backs down. Will Nate topple Evelyn's empire or be swallowed whole?" Hit like to stand for justice, share to spread the message, and subscribe to follow this gripping tale. Let's dive in. Under the pale dawn light blanketing Willow Creek, Virginia's golden wheat fields, the Carver farm stood as a tranquil tableau where time seemed to slow. Early breezes carried the scent of fresh earth and the low bellows of cattle mingling with the sharp crow of roosters from a white-painted barn. Nate Carver, 52, sat on the weathered oak porch of his family's homestead, sipping strong black coffee, his salt and pepper eyes glinting as he surveyed the legacy of 4 generations. The farm wasn't just his livelihood, it was his lifeblood woven with memories of his grandfather teaching him to plow and his father's dying wish to preserve this land. With calloused hands and a stoic smile, Nate lived by a simple code: work hard, live right, and let others be. But this morning that peace was under siege by a storm named Evelyn Marsh. A few hundred yards away, Pineview Heights rose like a modern oasis, its identical houses boasting manicured lawns and glossy asphalt roads. Evelyn, 45, president of the Pineview Homeowners Association, HOA, crowned herself the queen of this domain. Her dyed blonde hair gleamed, her tailored skirt suit hugged her frame, and her high heels clicked authoritatively on sidewalks. She ruled Pineview like an empire, enforcing suffocating rules, neutral-colored curtains, trash bins out no later than 6 a.m. Even children banned from chalk drawing on sidewalks. To Evelyn, Pineview was a perfect canvas, and Nate's farm, with its outdated barn, noisy cattle, and wild grasses, was an unforgivable blemish. Though the farm lay outside HOA boundaries, its existence infuriated her. Each cow's bellow a personal affront. Nate, mending a wooden fence near the dirt road to his farm, heard an engine stop. He looked up to see a gleaming white SUV parked at the curb. Evelyn stepped out, her heels sinking slightly into the soft earth, clutching a thick folder. Her icy gaze sweeping over Nate like he was a criminal. "Mr. Carver, I presume?" she began, her voice syrupy but laced with the arrogance of someone used to commanding. Nate wiped sweat from his brow. Leaning on a fence post, his expression calm but wary. "That's me. Who are you and why are you on my land?" Evelyn smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Evelyn Marsh, Pineview Heights HOA president. We need to discuss the state of this farm." Nate raised an eyebrow, his voice low with a hint of sarcasm. "The state? You got a problem with my wheat fields or my cattle?" Evelyn straightened, gripping her folder like a weapon. "Frankly, Mr. Carver, it's all a problem. The noise from your cows, the smell of manure, that garish white barn, it's an eyesore. A blight ruining our community's aesthetic. Property values in Pineview depend on perfection, and your farm is dragging us down." Nate laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet air, making Evelyn pause. "Ms. Marsh, this farm was here when my great-grandfather laid the first stone, long before Pineview was a twinkle in anyone's eye. I'm not in your HOA, and I'm not changing a thing just because you don't like the smell of hay." Evelyn tilted her head, her smile now tinged with menace. "Mr. Carver, I understand your attachment to this lifestyle, but Pineview's residents deserve peace. I suggest you repaint the barn, beige would be better, and reduce your livestock. If not, we'll have to take action." Nate crossed his arms, his eyes hard as steel. "Action? You planning to bulldoze my land? This is private property, Ms. Marsh, and you've got no authority here." Evelyn stepped closer, her voice low, each word a dagger. "Don't test me, Mr. Carver. I've made tougher men than you beg for mercy. The HOA has connections with the county, and I know how to make your life hell." Nate didn't budge, his eyes glinting with defiance. "You want to play legal games? I've got a deed from 1890, and my lawyer would love to meet you. Now get off my land before I call the sheriff." Evelyn's grip on her folder tightened, the paper crinkling, her eyes blazing with fury but maintaining a veneer of calm. "You'll regret this attitude," she hissed, turning on her heel, her stilettos clicking angrily on the ground. As she climbed into her SUV, Nate caught a strange detail. Through the tinted window, he saw a man in a suit in the back seat, his cold eyes watching Nate from afar. "Who's that?" Nate muttered, unease creeping in. He returned to his fence, but his mind was no longer at ease. Evelyn wasn't just a controlling nuisance, she had allies, and this fight wouldn't be simple. As dawn brightened, Nate went inside, retrieving the deed from a safe, checking each line. He knew Evelyn wouldn't stop, and instinct told him the man in the car was part of a larger scheme. "Come on," then he murmured, eyes burning with resolve. "This is my land and no one's taking it." A distant cow bellowed, as if affirming that the Carver farm would never yield. Nate took another sip of coffee, steeling himself for the battle ahead, not just for himself, but for his family's legacy, for freedom, and for the people of Willow Creek quietly suffering under Evelyn's grip. This wasn't just about land, it was about defending a way of life. And Nate would fight to the end. The days following the confrontation in the fields cast a heavy pall over the Carver farm, as if the storm Evelyn Marsh promised was silently brewing. Nate woke each morning with a sharpened sense of vigilance, his eyes scanning the fields for signs of trouble. He knew Evelyn wasn't one to back down, and the image of the suited man in her white SUV lingered like a warning that she wasn't acting alone. That morning, as Nate checked the cattle in the barn, a county pickup truck pulled up at the farm's gate. A man stepped out wearing a green work shirt, clutching a clipboard, looking more weary than threatening. "Mr. Carver?" he called, voice hesitant. Nate wiped his hands on his jeans, striding over. "That's me. Who are you, and what's this about now?" The man sighed, handing over a sheet of paper. "I'm Tim, from the county health department. Got a complaint about pollution from your cattle manure. I need to inspect." Nate's eyes narrowed, his gaze sharp. "Pollution? My barn's cleaner than my mom's kitchen. Let me guess. Pineview Heights sent you." Tim shrugged, clearly uncomfortable being caught in the crossfire. "I'm just doing my job. But yeah, the complaint's from the HOA. Nate took the paper, his voice low but defiant. "Go ahead and inspect. But tell whoever sent you they're wasting their time." Tim nodded, circled the barn, jotted a few notes, and left, visibly puzzled after finding nothing amiss. But Nate knew this was just the opening salvo. That afternoon, another letter arrived, stamped with the Pineview Heights logo, listing new violations. Cattle noise exceeding limits, wild grass endangering public health, and a fire hazard from hay near the barn. It demanded Nate rectify within 5 days or face legal consequences. He chuckled, but the laugh didn't mask the fire smoldering in his chest. "She thinks this paperwork will scare me," he muttered, pinning the letter to a wooden board in the barn like a reminder. But Evelyn didn't stop at letters. 2 days later, as Nate drove his tractor across the field, his phone rang. Clara, his old friend who ran the local farmers market. "Nate, you need to hear this," she said, voice urgent. "I got word from a contact at the county office. Pineview Heights is pushing to rezone your land as residential. If they pull it off, you could be forced to sell." Nate gripped the phone, eyes darkening. "Rezone? They've got no right, Clara. This land's been zoned agricultural since the last century." Clara sighed. "I know, but Evelyn's got connections." She was bragging at the coffee shop about having county insiders backing her. Nate's blood surged. "Thanks for the heads up. I'll handle it." He hung up, his gaze sweeping the field where wheat swayed in the breeze. Losing the farm wasn't just personal, it was a betrayal of his family's legacy. He resolved not to wait for Evelyn's next move. The next morning, Nate marched into the county office, armed with his 1890 deed and agricultural permits, and met Rachel, a clerk who'd helped him years before. "Rachel? I hear someone's trying to rezone my land. What do you know?" he asked, voice calm but edged. Rachel flipped through files, frowning. "No formal petition yet. But I saw a preliminary request from Pineview Heights claiming your land negatively impacts their neighborhood. They want it rezoned residential for community development." "But Nate, your land's protected by AG zoning laws. They've got no legal ground." Nate nodded, eyes glinting. "Then why are they pushing? Who's behind it?" Rachel lowered her voice, glancing around. "I'm not sure, but rumor is Evelyn's tight with a county commissioner. Watch your back." Nate left with a copy of his land records, determined to block Evelyn's advance. But trouble kept coming. One afternoon, as he unloaded hay in the barn, Nate heard the roar of an excavator near the farm's boundary. Dropping his work, he sprinted out to find 3 workers digging earth right at his fence line, setting concrete posts for a barrier wall. Evelyn stood nearby, in an emerald suit, phone in hand, barking orders like a general. Nate stormed over, his voice thundering. "What the hell are you doing on my land?" Evelyn turned, feigning surprise. "Mr. Carver, this isn't your land. Our new survey map extends Pineview's boundary 10 meters. We're building a wall to shield residents from your mess." Nate stepped closer, eyes burning. "A fake map? You think I don't have my deed? Stop this now, or I'm calling the sheriff." Evelyn smiled, but her eyes wavered. "Mr. Carver, don't overreact. This is for the community's benefit. If you don't cooperate, we'll sue you for obstructing development." Nate pulled out his phone, dialing Sheriff Jim Dawson. "Jim, I've got trespassers on my land. Need you here now." Evelyn paled, signaling the workers to halt the excavator. "No need, Mr. Carver. We'll review the map." Nate crossed his arms, voice ice cold. "You've got 5 minutes to clear out, or you and your crew are getting arrested." The workers, sensing the shift, scrambled to pack their gear, leaving half-set concrete posts. Evelyn retreated, eyes blazing with fury. "You'll pay for this stubbornness," she hissed, climbing into her SUV, the door slamming. But Nate noticed something chilling. Her white SUV didn't leave immediately. The suited man, now in the front seat, turned to stare at Nate, his gaze cold and calculating, like sizing up prey. Nate's heart raced. "Who is he?" he muttered, danger prickling his skin. That night, Nate sat in his living room, the deed spread on the table, every line scrutinized. He called Sarah Nguyen, a lawyer renowned for crushing overreaching HOAs. "Sarah, I need you to draft a legal warning," he said, voice low but resolute. "Evelyn Marsh is trying to steal my land. She's got county backing." Sarah's voice crackled with sharp confidence. "Send me everything. I'll make her regret crossing you." Nate hung up, his gaze drifting to the dark fields. He knew Evelyn wouldn't stop, and the mystery man was key to a bigger plot. But fear wasn't in him. The Carver farm was home, legacy, and no one, not Evelyn, not the county, not some shadowy figure, would take it. The wind howled through the fields, carrying the whispers of his ancestors, reminding Nate he fought for more than himself, for what was sacred. He stood, fists clenched, ready for the next battle. The fiery sunset bathed Willow Creek's wheat fields in crimson, but a storm-like tension hung over the Carver farm. After the concrete wall clash, Nate sensed an eerie silence from Evelyn Marsh, like a predator stalking in the shadows. He knew she was plotting, and the image of the suited man in her white SUV replayed in his mind, a warning that this fight had grown beyond an HOA dispute. That morning, as Nate fed the cattle, a dusty pickup truck stopped at the gate. A wiry man in a gray jacket stepped out, clutching a professional camera. Skulking near the fence to snap photos of the barn and haystacks, his eyes furtive. Nate dropped his shovel, striding over, his voice cutting like a blade. "Who are you? And why are you snooping on my land?" The man flinched, nearly dropping the camera. "I'm just a freelance photographer shooting rural scenes," he stammered. Nate advanced, his gaze a spear. "Photographer? With a telephoto lens? Hand over the camera, or I'm calling the sheriff." The man paled, backing away. "No need. I'm leaving." He scrambled into his truck, speeding off, leaving Nate standing, heart pounding. This wasn't a journalist. Evelyn had hired a private investigator to dig for dirt. That night, Nate reviewed footage from the security cameras he'd installed after the wall incident, confirming his suspicions. The photographer had captured close-ups of every corner of the farm. "She's playing dirty now," he muttered, saving the file to a USB. Trouble escalated the next morning. A new letter from Pineview Heights arrived in his mailbox. Not a complaint, but a notice of a safety inspection. It claimed the HOA, in coordination with the county, would check the farm for fire hazards and required Nate to allow inspectors access within 3 days. "Safety inspection?" Nate growled, crumpling the letter. "She wants on my land to fabricate violations." He called Sarah Nguyen, his lawyer, immediately. "Sarah, they're demanding to inspect my farm, but I bet it's a setup. Can you stop them?" Sarah's voice crackled with sharp resolve. "Send me the letter. I'll block them." No one steps on your land without a court order. Nate exhaled, but unease clung to him. That afternoon, Clara, his friend from the farmer's market, showed up, her face taut with worry. Nate, I overheard something at the tavern. Evelyn was bragging to someone about finishing your farm. She said she's got big evidence to force you to sell. Nate's eyes darkened. Big evidence? She's making it up. Who was she talking to? Clara shook her head. Couldn't tell. But it was a guy in a suit, looked like a city type. Be careful, Nate. They're not playing. Clara's words fueled the anger smoldering in Nate's chest. He decided he wouldn't wait for Evelyn's next strike. That evening, Nate met Sheriff Jim Dawson at a roadside cafe. Jim, I need you to keep an eye on Evelyn Marsh, Nate said, sliding the USB across the table. She hired a PI to stalk me. Here's proof. Jim watched the footage, shaking his head. She's unhinged. I'll have patrols monitor Pineview. But Nate, if she's got county insiders, you'll need more than cameras. Nate nodded, eyes steadfast. I'm working on it. But Evelyn moved faster than he anticipated. The next morning, as Nate repaired his tractor, a large truck rumbled to the gate, towing a massive sign. Land for sale, Pineview Heights development. It was planted deep in his soil by the main road. A brazen declaration of war. Nate's blood boiled as he sprinted over, voice thundering. Who dared put this here? A worker in a hard hat standing by the truck shifted nervously. We were hired by Pineview, sir. They said this land's been bought. Nate closed in, eyes blazing. Bought? This is my land, and no one's bought it. Take it down, or I'll tear it apart. The worker backed off, fumbling for his phone. Minutes later, Evelyn arrived, stepping from her familiar white SUV, her red suit vivid as blood, her smirk triumphant. Mr. Carver, why the fuss? She cooed, voice dripping with false sweetness. This is just the first step for Pineview's expansion. We've negotiated with the county to buy your land. Nate stood tall, voice icy. Negotiated? You're fabricating lies to steal my land. I've got a deed from 1890, and I'll sue you for fraud. Evelyn's smile didn't waver, though her eyes flickered. Mr. Carver, the county agrees your farm's outdated for modern development. If you don't sell, we'll push for eminent domain for the public good. Nate stepped closer, voice low and dangerous. Public good? You think I don't see you manipulating the county? Take the sign down, Evelyn, or you'll regret it. Evelyn's grip tightened, eyes flaring. You can't fight me. I have power. And you're just an old farmer. Before Nate could reply, the suited man stepped from the SUV, revealing himself up close for the first time. Tall, with slick back hair and a chilling gaze. His deep voice cut through. Mr. Carver, I advise cooperation. Pineview Meadows is a major project, and you're in the way. Nate met his stare, danger prickling his skin. Major project? Who are you? And who's really behind this? The man smiled, offering no answer, only nodding to Evelyn before returning to the car. Evelyn turned, voice smug. You have 48 hours to decide. Sell? Or lose everything. She left, leaving Nate by the sign, fists clenched. He ripped it from the ground, hurling it down, but his mind reeled. The suited man wasn't county. He was a piece of a larger puzzle. That night, Nate convened an urgent meeting at his home with Sarah and Clara. They want my land for a development, he said, voice low. Evelyn's got backing, and I think it's the guy in the car. Sarah scanned files, eyes sharp. I'll dig into Silver Point Holdings, the company behind Pineview. If they're into dirty real estate, we'll have leverage. But Nate, you need to rally the community. Clara nodded, eyes fierce. I'll spread the word at the market. Locals hate outsiders wrecking our town. You've got us behind you. Nate looked at them, warmth cutting through his resolve. We're not just saving the farm. We're saving the town. As night fell, Nate stood on his porch, gazing at the dark fields. The wind whistled, carrying his ancestors' whispers, reminding him this fight was for legacy, freedom, and those crushed by Evelyn's grip. Clutching the USB, he knew this evidence was just the start. Evelyn might have power, but Nate had truth, and he wouldn't let her win. The battle was heating up, and he was ready. The steel-gray sky over Willow Creek churned with heavy clouds, signaling an approaching storm. But Nate Carver felt a different tempest brewing. A battle reaching its fiercest point. After the land for sale sign and the mysterious suited man's appearance, Nate knew Evelyn Marsh wasn't just aiming to control but to destroy his farm. Yet he was no longer merely defending. With lawyer Sarah and Gwyn and friend Clara from the farmer's market by his side, Nate resolved to strike back, not just to save his land, but to expose Evelyn and her backers. That morning in the barn, Nate spread land deeds and security camera footage across an old wooden table. Sarah arrived, laptop and thick file in hand, her voice sharp as a blade. "I traced Silver Point Holdings," she said. "It's a front for shady real estate deals linked to County Commissioner Raymond Holt. He's got a history of greenlighting sketchy projects. Evelyn's working for Holt, and Pineview Meadows is their plan to build a luxury development on your land." Nate's fists clenched, eyes blazing. "So Holt's the suit in the car? He wants my land for a payday." Sarah nodded. "Likely, but we need hard evidence. I sent a legal notice to the HOA to cease harassment, but to take them down, you need to win the town's heart." Nate's lips curled. "Clara's on that. I've got a bigger idea." He stood, eyes glinting. "Evelyn hates my farm for being messy. I'll show her real chaos." Nate's plan was a bold counterstrike. A Carver Festival on the farm, a free community event with market stalls, kids' games, and live music. "We'll invite the whole town," he told Clara over the phone, voice brimming with resolve. "If Evelyn wants war, I'll bring Willow Creek to her doorstep." Clara laughed. "I love it. I'll pull vendors from the market and get my uncle's country band." "But Nate, she'll lose it." Nate's voice deepened. "Good. I want her off balance." In 3 days, Nate and Clara transformed the farm into a vibrant stage. They set up white tents, strung lanterns, and plastered posters across town. "Carver Festival. Keep our rural soul." To needle Evelyn, Nate bought 5 dwarf goats, letting them roam the grass near Pineview's border, their bleats echoing all morning. He also built a new red fence, painted with Carver Farms Forever Free. As Evelyn drove by, Nate stood there, waving mockingly, making her grip the wheel until her knuckles whitened. Festival day arrived and the farm pulsed with life. Hundreds flocked in, families, kids, even elders with canes, laughing, buying produce, and dancing to country tunes. Kids chased goats, adults sipped local craft beer. Clara, at her honey stall, whispered to Nate, "You pulled it off. The town's with you." But Nate, scanning the crowd, stayed vigilant. "Not yet. Evelyn won't let this slide." He was right. Mid-event, Evelyn's white SUV screeched up, dust billowing. She stormed out, purple suit hugging her frame, eyes burning to torch the festival. Pushing through the crowd, her shrill voice rang out. "What is this? An illegal circus on AG land?" Nate stepped forward, arms crossed, voice calm but razor sharp. "Community festival, county approved. Want to see the permit? I've got it right here." Evelyn's hand shot up, trembling with rage. "You're ruining Pineview. The noise, the mob, our residents can't stand it." An elderly woman nearby, Rose from Pineview, spoke up, voice quavering but firm. "Ms. Marsh, I live in Pineview and I love this festival. You're the one making us miserable." The crowd cheered, Evelyn's face flushing. She turned to Nate, voice low and venomous. "You think you're clever? I have evidence you're violating land laws, and I'll make you lose this farm." Nate tilted his head, unflinching. "Evidence? You sent a PI to snoop, but my cameras caught him. Want to see me sue you for trespassing?" Evelyn froze. But before she could retort, a man emerged from the crowd, Raymond Holt, the suited commissioner. Tall, slick-back hair, and cold eyes, his deep voice cut through. "Mr. Carver, enough theatrics. Sell the land and this ends smoothly." The crowd hushed, sensing the threat. Nate closed in, voice like thunder. "Smoothly? You and her are trying to steal my legacy for condos." "But Holt, I know Silver Point's yours. I've got a lawyer and I'll bury you both." Holt smirked, but his eyes wavered. "Careful, Carver. You don't know who you're up against." He pulled Evelyn away. But Nate caught her whispering to Holt, eyes glinting with scheming. The crowd murmured, some shaking their heads in outrage. Rose gripped Nate's hand, voice thick. "Don't give up, son. We're behind you." The festival resumed, but Nate knew the climax loomed. That night, Nate, Sarah, and Clara strategized at his house. Sarah opened her laptop, pointing to a new email. "I hacked a Silver Point internal memo. They're planning an emergency order to seize your land, citing public development." Holt bribed a county official to sign it. Nate slammed the table, growling. "Seize? They think I'll roll over." Clara jumped in, eyes fierce. "We need the people. I'll post in the community group, exposing Holt and Evelyn." Willow Creek hates outsiders stealing land. Sarah nodded. I'll file an emergency injunction to block the seizure. But Nate, we need proof of Holt meeting Evelyn. Got cameras near the boundary. Nate's eyes glinted. I'll check. And I've got one more play. He revealed his final move, hiring a local film crew to record Evelyn and Holt's every action. If they play dirty, the town will see, he said, voice resolute. The next morning, Nate found a surprise. A group of Pineview residents, led by Rose, arrived at the farm with pies and a petition. 200 signatures from Pineview, demanding Evelyn resign. Rose said, eyes misty. We're sick of her. You gave us hope, Nate. Nate clasped her hand, voice warm. Thank you, Rose. This isn't just my fight. It's ours. But as he returned to the barn, his phone rang. Sheriff Jim Dawson's voice was urgent. Nate, I just saw Holt and Evelyn at the county office signing something. I don't know what, but you need to move fast. Nate's heart raced. Eyes blazing. They want the endgame? Fine. He called the film crew, set hidden cameras near the boundary, and braced for battle. As the sun set, Nate stood in his field, staring toward Pineview. The wind howled, carrying his ancestors' whispers, reminding him this fight was for justice, freedom, and the people trusting him. The climax was here, and Nate was ready to make Evelyn and Holt pay. The night sky over Willow Creek sparkled with stars, but the air around the Carver farm was taut as a bowstring ready to snap. After the vibrant festival and Raymond Holt's public appearance, Nate Carver knew Evelyn Marsh and her allies were gearing up for their final blow. With hidden cameras set near the boundary, a petition from Pineview residents, and support from lawyer Sarah Gwynn and Clara, Nate was primed to strike back. He wasn't just defending his farm. He was fighting to expose Holt and Evelyn's corrupt network, bringing justice to the town. The next morning, Sarah called, her voice urgent but resolute. Nate, bad news and good news, she said. Bad. Holt's fast-tracked a seizure order, claiming your farm's a public hazard. Good. I filed an emergency lawsuit, and the judge agreed to a hearing in 3 days. But we need proof of Holt's bribery to win. Nate gripped the phone, eyes blazing. My cameras are rolling. If Holt meets Evelyn, we'll catch them. Sarah's voice sharpened. Good. I'll prep the case. But Nate, if Holt knows about the cameras, they'll play dirtier. Nate smirked. Let them try. That afternoon, Clara arrived at the farm, brandishing a USB and a triumphant grin. I posted about Holt and Evelyn in the community group, she said, handing Nate the USB. Pineview's residents are furious. This is a recording from an anonymous county worker who overheard Holt and Evelyn plotting to force you off your land. Nate plugged the USB into his laptop, hearing Holt's cold voice. If Carver won't sell, we seize it. That land's worth millions for Pineview Meadows. Evelyn's venomous tone cut in. I'll make him beg. Just need one big complaint. Nate slammed the table, growling, big complaint? I'll give them a bigger surprise. He decided on his final play. Unveil the recording in court and stage a community protest outside the county office to pressure Holt and Evelyn. Clara nodded, eyes fierce. I'll rally the market folks. Willow Creek won't let them steal your land. But Evelyn struck first. That evening, Nate spotted a small fire flaring near the haystack in his barn. He raced out, dousing it with a fire extinguisher, heart pounding as the acrid smell of gasoline hit him. This was no accident. The hidden camera caught a hooded figure fleeing, and Nate recognized the gait of Evelyn's hired PI. She torched my barn? He muttered, fury igniting. He called Sheriff Jim Dawson immediately. Jim, I've got proof Evelyn hired someone to set my barn on fire. Send a team to grab him. Jim's voice was grim. Send me the footage. I'll nab this guy, but Nate, be careful. Holt might cover for him. Nate nodded, eyes unwavering. He won't get away. By morning, news of the fire spread, and Pineview residents, led by Rose, gathered at the farm, waving signs, Save Carver Farms. Rose clasped Nate's hand, voice thick. She burned your barn? We won't stand for it. Nate scanned the crowd, warmth swelling in his chest. Thank you all. This isn't just my land, it's ours. As the crowd dispersed, a county car pulled up. A nervous official handed Nate a summons. Mr. Carver, the county demands you attend an emergency meeting. They say your farm's being seized tomorrow morning. Nate clutched the paper, eyes burning. Tomorrow? They want the endgame. He called Sarah. Voice low. They're rushing the seizure. We need to go public now. Sarah's reply was firm. Send me the recording and camera footage. I'll present it in court. And Nate, bring the town to the hearing. The night before the trial, Nate didn't sleep. He sat on his porch, gazing at the swaying wheat, mind racing. He thought of his father's words, "This land is our blood." Nate, don't let anyone take it. Clutching the USB of evidence, he knew tomorrow would decide everything. At dawn, the county courthouse was packed. Reporters, Pineview residents, and Willow Creek locals flooded in, waving signs and chanting. Nate entered, in a simple suit but with a warrior's burning gaze. Evelyn sat at the defendant's table, black suit clinging to her, eyes sharp but betraying tension. Holt, in a gray suit, sat beside her, avoiding the crowd's gaze. Judge Clara Monroe, silver hair gleaming, banged her gavel. We address the seizure of Mr. Carver's land by Pineview Heights request. Ms. Nguyen, proceed. Sarah rose, voice like thunder. Your Honor, we have proof Pineview Heights, led by Ms. Marsh and Mr. Holt, harassed, threatened, and conspired to steal Mr. Carver's land for personal gain. She held up the USB, eyes sweeping the room. This recording captures Holt and Marsh plotting an illegal seizure, and footage shows their hired man torching Mr. Carver's barn. The gallery buzzed, reporters scribbling frantically. Sarah played the recording, Holt's voice echoing, making Evelyn pale. She continued, voice cutting. Silver Point Holdings, Holt's company, bribed county officials to approve Pineview Meadows. We demand the seizure be voided and both investigated. Holt shot up, roaring. This is slander. I'm a county commissioner, and Pineview Meadows is for the community. Sarah cut him off, brandishing documents. For the community or your wallet? We have bank records showing you pocketed $20,000 monthly from Silver Point. The crowd erupted, the judge banging for order. Evelyn, eyes wild, hissed at Holt, you said you'd handle this. Holt glared, whispering, shut up, Evelyn. But Nate spotted Rose in the crowd, standing tall, voice quavering but strong. Your Honor, I'm from Pineview. Ms. Marsh coerced us to support the project, threatening HOA fee hikes. We don't want Mr. Carver's land stolen. The gallery cheered, Evelyn bowing her head, hands trembling. Nate stood, voice resounding. Your Honor, I'm not just defending my farm, I'm defending everyone's freedom. They tried to steal my land, but they underestimated this community's strength. He locked eyes with Evelyn and Holt, gazed like a blade. Ms. Marsh, Mr. Holt, you've lost. Evelyn leapt up, voice shrill. You can't win. I have power. But the judge cut in, voice stern. Ms. Marsh, silence. Based on the evidence. I void the seizure. Mr. Holt, Ms. Marsh, you'll face investigation. The crowd roared, but Nate saw Holt whispering to his lawyer, eyes glinting with scheming. The trial ended. But Nate knew Holt wouldn't go quietly. Outside, the crowd swarmed Nate, Rose hugging him, eyes wet. You saved us, Nate. He smiled, but his gaze drifted to the white SUV vanishing around a corner. Not over yet, he murmured. A week later, Evelyn was ousted from the HOA, her house marked for sale. Holt was suspended, facing probes. Nate expanded the festival, turning the farm into a symbol of freedom. But on his porch, staring at the fields, he knew a bigger foe still lurked. Clenching his fists, Nate was ready for the next fight for justice, Willow Creek, and his undying legacy. Nate Carver's story is a profound lesson in resilience, unity, and the power of truth against injustice. Facing baseless prejudice and Evelyn Marsh's land-grabbing scheme, Nate stood unyielding, wielding intelligence, legal evidence, and community support to topple a corrupt empire. His journey teaches that justice isn't automatic. It demands courage to challenge power, faith in what's right, and the collective strength of those around us. Rose and the Pineview residents showed that even small voices can shift systems. Humorous yet meaningful, the story underscores that freedom and legacy are worth fighting for. Stand against injustice, trust in truth, and offer the misguided a chance at redemption. Hit like to champion justice, share to spread the message, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Let's build a community where truth always has a voice.